This here's my 96 Ram 1500. I got this a little before the pandemic, uh, so 2018, 2019, for $1,500. And it's been a pretty solid truck. It's mostly been used as kind of a shop truck, doing yard work, towing my Miata back there, back and forth to the racetrack. It's got more than enough guts to do that. It's got the 5.9 liter, the 360 Magnum. Makes like 240 horsepower back in the day, and like 300 and some change pound-feet of torque. But one of the things that's always driven me nuts about it is it just doesn't have air conditioning. And a while back, I got started on getting all that fixed because I knew the original compressor was just shot. So I went on Rock Auto and I bought the full kit. I got a new compressor, got a new condenser, got some new lines, and some things went sideways with that job. Namely, this connector down here that goes into the evaporator, and it's yeah, that one up top there. You can see, or you can kind of see how boogered up that one is just from it didn't pull out. The hose broke instead of pulling out of that connection. I was more than happy to replace everything else in this air conditioning system except the evaporator core. And if you've ever owned or been around these second generation Rams, you know why. These dashboards, um, at this point, they're held together with hopes and dreams. I mean, they're rough. I've got a cover on mine. It looks pretty good at a glance, but you get up under there, it's hard to see. But I mean, you can see a bunch of cracks right through here. Get some light in here if I'm actually going to be recording a video next time. But yeah, there's that. I've got a few other cracks on the other side where myself and shops have had to get into there to replace various little things that have gone wrong over the years that I've had it. But I've got to replace the evaporator core if I want air conditioning. Also, my HVAC panel has gone bad, so I got a new one off eBay. This one looks to be in really good shape, and it should hook up and go fine. But like my blower won't work unless it's turned all the way on. And in other cars I've had, that's indicative of this panel going bad. So, yeah, I got to pull the dash out. I'm not excited about it. I'm kind of scared. I'm worried it's not going to want to go back together. Right. More actually, really, this old plastic, I'm worried it's just going to shatter the second I start messing with it. Good news though, most of those parts are fairly easy to find, and I've already got a new top for the dash right here. So got it off LMC truck. That should be the whole top part of that dashboard. I'm curious how certain parts of this are going to go. Um, little things in this truck just ain't right. I mean, this what do you expect for $1,500? Like these I can turn them on with the knob over here, but I can't press them on like you normally would. This piece here is actually pretty solid. This cup holder, you know, yeah, don't even think about it. The radio has fallen out many times. I've just given up. I put one headphone in when I drive. I know it's a no-no, but I'd like to be able to find a way to either reattach this or maybe, stick another JVC unit in there somewhere I can plug my phone in. I don't even care about Bluetooth. I just want to be able to plug my phone in and listen to music in the car. Shockingly, though, the ashtray is in fabulous shape. It's always the best made part of any vehicle made before 2005, back when smoking cigarettes all the time was socially acceptable. Um, Power. Some of the stuff is okay. The vents are okay. Most of the plastics over there on the lower half of the dash seem to be good because they didn't get that same UV exposure. This truck had tinted windows at one point. I pulled them off of the side windows, and I kind of started on the back. So like this one's not tinted, that one's not tinted, but the passenger half of the back windows are tinted. I need to get around to doing that. But while the dash is out, if I can get the dash out without cursing my ancestors, it's a good excuse to get along to a couple other things. The rest of the interior is actually in okay shape. These seats are okay. Got some wear and tear here just from people dragging their ass on it, getting in and out of the truck. It used to, obviously it was a smoker's vehicle at some point. You can see these, all these little holes, burn marks from cigarette ashes. Very normal on smokers' cars. Another very common problem with these is headliner failure. You can see up there, we got a bit of sagging action going on, but considering I drive with this thing on the interstate, with the windows down, the headliner's holding together pretty well. So if the dash comes out, it's a good excuse to go ahead and do the headliner. Get the seats out just to give me some more room to work and more room to hopefully record some of this. It's also a good excuse to pull the carpet out. As you can see, my carpet is nasty. Always has been. So yeah, it's not going to be pretty. I've only put like 5,000 miles on this truck in the time that I've had it. It's mostly just sat in the backyard. But yeah, like I said, dash comes out, get the heater core, AC evaporator replaced, because if it's out, might as well do both of them. I've already got the parts. Try and reassemble what appears to be a functioning and new looking dash, and kind of clean out the inside of this truck a little bit. I made the decision recently to keep it instead of getting rid of it, and so now we need to make it nice, make it livable, make it not a miserable place to be. And who knows, I kind of want to put a manual transmission in it, and it doesn't seem that hard to do. I've never done a manual swap on a vehicle that came stock with an automatic. These technically were not sold with manual transmissions, not with this engine. The 5.2 liter was. So there's some research there I got to do, but yeah, that's a project for next time. For now, I've got most of the leaks in the truck fixed. It doesn't consume oil. So if I can get the air conditioning work and make this not a miserable vehicle to drive, that will go a long way in encouraging me to actually keep it and actually work on it and use it. Starting with the driver's seat here, just slid the seat forwards. We got a 13 up front, both the front bolts for the front seat, 13 on the back left. That one in the middle is either an 18th or an 18 mil or an 11/16. I had to use an 11/16. I don't have an 18 deep wall in my tool set, but 11/16 works fine. It's probably gonna be the same deal on the other side, but mirrored. So right now I'm just unbolting things until I get it all apart. Using my fancy new Father's Day gift. I've never owned an electric ratchet before now. If you like working on cars, you owe it to yourself to get one of these things. All right, once you get the 4 bolts off for the driver and passenger seat, you can just lift this whole assembly, take it out one side. It may be a little tight, but if you have some help, and you're patient with it, it's probably not too bad just running it out the passenger door. I do not have help, so I'm going to take the middle seat out, which looks like it's just 4 bolts that come up from the bottom. So there's one here, kind of down through there, one there, one there, one there. So 4 on the corners. Front ones are super easy to get to. The back ones are kind of tricky. I can't use an electric ratchet, just got to use a manual one. First world problems. But once those are out, this middle seats just lift up and out, and then driver passenger slide them right out. All right, we got the seats out, trays out of the back. I believe these back trays, you just pop up on them and then they slot out. And then the one at the bottom has 3 screws, so 1 in each of the sections. So 1, 2, 3, you can even see the holes there. And then it kind of pops up, the bottom rotates out, and then it'll slot out of these holes in the wall. It's always interesting if you ever pulled seats out of a car, you know what I'm talking about, to look up under them and find the hidden treasures that have been in your vehicle for a while. Unfortunately, I did not find a winning scratch-off ticket from a previous owner, but I did find a couple bucks and change. This old K-bar knife. It seems silly, it's K-bar, but it means a lot to me because back when I worked for the company that sold these, I won this in a little office game, and I had it engraved. It says, "Don't play with knives." And the reason that is because, I don't know how well you can see it, that scar on my hand. I was at work one day, and I laid my hand open all the way across down to this finger, and I could see the bones for those two when it happened. It was pretty rough, but, for the rest of my time there, I was always telling people to stop playing with knives. All right, it's got the instrument bezel out. It just pops out. But before you do that, you have to unscrew your cup holder. If you have screws left for your cup holder, mine are, clearly I didn't. So my cup holder just slid right out. My ashtray, you got to unscrew the 2 sides for the ashtray. Pop that bezel out. Like I said, it just pops out after that. Make sure you unplug your cigarette lighter. And then whatever this was, unplug this and unplug this, whatever those things led to. And I believe the next step, I'm just going to go around and start unbolting everything that's easy to get to. So pull out this head unit, the lights for the overdrive, or the switches for the overdrive and the fog lights, instrument, HVAC control panel, light switch, all that kind of stuff. So kind of the same mentality as everything else, just unbolt things until it comes apart. I wanted to stop for a second and show y'all where I'm at. I just got the HVAC panel out, the old one, and this is a disaster. So it's going pretty rough. And as you can see, if I can get my light back with me here, you can see why. I mean, the inside of this dash, this plastic is just ruined. I mean, there's a bunch of pieces that have just fallen out. There's a piece over there that used to belong up here, I believe. You know, these things are, like I said earlier, this dash is held together with hopes and dreams and duct tape. So here are the connectors to the fog light and the what's it called? The overdrive disconnect. So you can see there, those are backwards, so those plugs only go in one way. These, you just pull this tab up to release the clip, and I broke the tab on that one. Every time I use these, especially this overdrive light, but the fog light as well, they get pretty hot. So I might see about getting a new set of these, which should have, you know, those tabs on there. All these are held together with these interior screws. So you don't really need to keep them together too bad. So yeah, there's your overdrive and fog light switches out. The HVAC panel, if I flip it over, up here you have like a vacuum style connection, and that's these like this rubber gummy piece. On the back of that, there were these two small, very small nuts, and they kind of like they're plastic for self-tappers, but remember, they're just like little thin pieces of stamped up metal, and they screw in that way, so the cup shape of it is back towards the inside of the dash. Like I said earlier, I have a new one of these ready to go once it comes back around. The electrical connector on the side of that was fairly easy. Just push the tab in, and then this red piece at the bottom actually slots into that right there. On the bottom of this, you'll just push in on that red piece, which was that right there. So you would push in like back towards the camera on that, and of course mine snapped like every other piece of plastic in here. Now I'm working on getting this aftermarket stereo out, but I wanted to stop and, you know, point out where these wires were, just kind of as a reference for me as well to come back and check on later. But also, like I said, you know, there's now nothing in there to hold the cup holder up. So yeah, I'm gonna do my best to see about finding like a new actual core piece of this dash. Like I said, some of this outer piece is pretty good. This one's got a crack in it, so if I can get a replacement for that, that'd be awesome. But I pretty much need a replacement core piece for this dash, which really sucks because that might be pretty hard to find. I was hoping, since it's been covered up all these years, that the sun hadn't got to it too bad and weakened it, but it's pretty screwed. So I'll continue. If anything else interesting happens, I'll pop you all back in. Like I said, I'm just unbolting things and going from there. I don't really have a game plan here. Another quick mention, we just got the antenna cable for the radio here, and the one and only other plug that went into the back of the radio, which is nice. I was really concerned that someone would have, you know, cobbled together some mess of electrical tape and shrink wrap to get the radio hooked up like you see sometimes in older vehicles. So it looks like they got either an adapter kit or the radio is made for these trucks. So that's a very pleasant surprise. So that should be very easy to slap back in and get straightened out. Got a little farther, got the headlight switch out. Got the panel that's down here pulled off. Working on this brace that goes across right now. There are a couple screws that go in there, a couple screws that go in down on this end of those two holes, and then right here in these two holes there's some other screws. They look like very similar to the other interior screws I've been using so far, but they're just a little bit shorter than the other screws that are being pulled out of here, and they seem to have worn differently over time. There's still a screw or two under the bottom here, and at this end you drop this panel off. Also went ahead and pulled the I think it's called a kick panel, but whatever this panel is here out, just the screws along the bottom. And there's one more that goes into the side up in here. It needs to come out. That panel just slides right out. It's going to be the same deal over there when we pull that one out as well. Like I said, just making this video as I go, after every few steps, just to kind of guide anybody who wants to follow my tracks here, and also as a reference for myself. And I want to throw another little note in while I'm down here. The OBD connector there, if your vehicle has it, that's held on from the back side of that bracket that we just dropped out here. And that's two of the regular vanilla style interior screws that have been used to do everything else so far. I will say one thing that's nice as I'm going through this is these little screws are all the same kind of screw. The only ones that I've ran into different so far are the ones that hold down the sill plate. and the ones for that bracket and some of the screws in that bracket. But almost all of them so far have been the same type of interior screw. So you can just take them all out, put them in a big pile. You don't have to keep track of what goes where, which is really nice. So move it over here to the passenger side because the video I was watching was talking about removing and unplugging all the connectors over there, and I don't feel like dealing with that right now. I'm also sure that's not very confidence inspiring that you're watching a YouTube video of a guy who needs to watch a YouTube video. But a little tip, as you're down here, these screws get a lot of dirt and dust, just gunk in them. You can take you a little straight pick or something. You can go in here and just clean this out. You know, knock some of that crap loose and then blow on it. You can get most of it out. That way you're not stripping the screws. So if you take a pick, it'll last longer. All right, back over here to these connectors, and I finally got a bright light in here. I can probably see better than the camera can, though. Pull these connectors off. So this one on the bottom, basically everything that looks like it's going to stay attached to the dash has got to come out. So pull this connector. This one here has got a big bolt in the middle to yank out. Probably this one as well. I'm probably just going to start unplugging this stuff willy-nilly. If it looks like I could figure out how it goes back in, it's probably not worth a mention. Not sure about this one here in the back. We'll see. That one may be able to stay in. I think I'll have to unplug this one. This one's right here above the OBD port and everything down the side of the steering column. And we'll have to take these two nuts out of the steering shaft, which means I need to bring a jack stand or something here to set the bottom of the steering wheel on, which sucks because this is where I've been laying for the last 5 minutes, and it's pretty comfortable. So yeah, like I said, just start unplugging some stuff down here willy-nilly. As long as you know where it goes back and it makes sense, you should be fine. I also think I need to disconnect the line here for the emergency brake release. I may just unscrew this. That seems easier to me. All right, so I got everything down here unplugged. This big one in the middle that has this 10 mil nut in it, or bolt, sorry. It was a little bit tricky because I didn't have that bolt all the way out. So I actually had to pull back on this and unscrew it at the same time. And once I did, they kind of popped out. There's a tab on the very top of where this plugs in. And do be careful with this. It has a lot of pins sticking out of the back. They're fragile. It kind of reminds me of the CPU, but bigger. But up there on top, there's a little tab. I don't know if that actually helps getting this piece out, but I pushed it and then I struggled with the bolt and then it came out. So that may or may not be related. So yeah, I believe everything here cabling wise is loose. I went ahead and dropped the brake release cable. So I think everything here is ready for the dash to come loose on the driver's side. Still need to come over here and fiddle around with this part in the middle, airbag related stuff. And this is something that the last owner put on here, and I'm not really sure what this is, what it was for. When I first got it, maybe I thought it was like brake controller related, but there's no wiring out back for a brake controller that I could find. So if you know, let me know. All right, well, I have very unfortunate news. Unfortunate for me, maybe interesting for other people who want to actually work on their second gen Rams. This dash is properly fucked. There is no saving this. I got the new top panel. You know, those are a dime a dozen. The instrument bezel, you know, you can find those new. People make recreations for them. And apparently, if I had a 98 to 02, which is, you know, the facelifted second gen Rams, you can find the core part of these being remanufactured, but for some reason, no one makes an aftermarket core support for these dashes. So I can't get, you know, a stock adjacent type dash replacement. And this panel here is actually part of that core dash. I mentioned it earlier, has a crack in it. So I'm SOL. And like I said earlier, every time I pull a screw out of the middle of this dash, anywhere in here, more plastic falls out. My cup holders are not going to go back in now. The only thing looks like it may go back together easy would be the ashtray and the radio. But like the bar that goes across the top of the HVAC panel, that broke out. Some of the clips around the instrument bezel pulled out, which that's not too bad. You know, I could probably stick those back in. They're just little metal tabs. I've collected them all as I've gone. I've tried to keep everything organized outside the truck on the ground out here. But yeah, no. Finding a good dash for these trucks now is prohibitively expensive. I think I saw a clean gray dash on eBay for it was like $2,500. And I found a broken, pretty substantially damaged red dashboard for this truck for like $1,500. So yeah, this is not going back together, and I want this truck to be nice. You know, I've got ideas for making it a project long term, and it kind of was my first ever project vehicle, so I am a little sentimental about it. Uh, the company I think that I saw makes an aluminum dash kit for it, LRB. You've got a Miata over there. They make some aluminum parts for Miatas that I've seen and looked at before. Not really up my alley, but for this, that might be my only option. The unfortunate part is that's it's going to be $1,900 to get that dash to have it optioned out. It starts at $1,200 if you just get a blank aluminum dash, but it looks good. They say it doesn't rattle too bad. You know, I'm not trying to make the quietest vehicle in the world, but I can put those felt pads in everywhere, and it rivets together, so it should be a pretty tight fit. And I can always, you know, if it winds up rattling, I have ideas on ways to fix that. But it looks like I'm going to be spending $2,000 on an aftermarket dash for this truck, which kind of sucks. But I can't find videos of people installing them anywhere on YouTube, so that might actually be pretty cool. So I think I've changed up the pace on what I want to do for this video. Is originally I was going to pull all this out and put all this in one video. This is already getting kind of long, so I'll probably leave this at pulling the dash out. And then I'll save up a couple bucks, get everything ordered, and go from there. So the headliner project will probably be its own separate video. The carpet will probably be its own separate video. And this is going to probably shrink down into just get the dash out of the truck, which I'm not too far away from getting done now. You know, I had family come over. We went out to dinner, so I'm not getting this done today. But I think I just have a couple more connectors to deal with behind here, and then we'll be more or less ready to pull this dash out of here as far as I understand. As I mentioned earlier, there was a YouTube video that I was watching to do a lot of this stuff, and I'll make sure to link that somewhere because even though theirs was for a facelifted second gen 98 to 02, it was very helpful and very similar, and they did a much better job recording this stuff than I did, which makes me realize I need to, one, get a light for in here that sets up better than that one, and two, I need a tripod or something to set my phone up so I can actually record what I'm doing as I do it instead of me talking about it afterwards, because then you can kind of see a little bit better. So, all right, I'll bring you back when I actually make a little more progress. All right, I forgot that I needed to come down here and unhook the steering wheel still. I believe the next step after this for me is unbolting the dash and swinging the whole thing out. Get these connectors unplugged down here. They're all very uniquely shaped and easy to find. Just pull the plastic lining off the back of the steering wheel. It's a couple Torx bits. There's one that's kind of a little funky there. That one that's still connected, that follows this loom down the steering wheel. It's that gray wire right there, that yellow one hanging out. That plugs in behind the brace here over the gas and brake pedals. All of these connectors here are like pull tab style connectors, and brittle plastic is the theme of this one. So be very careful with those. I managed to get these all out without breaking them at least. And I miss another connector here on the side. It's just behind the blinker stalk. And one other thing, if we come down here, there's one line that runs across under that loom. It looks like if I was super careful, I could pull this dash out with that connected, like by feeding the steering wheel kind of through this hole. That doesn't seem like a good idea at all, though. So that's connected back up in there. So it kind of wraps around the outside of all these wires. It loops back up into that connector, that gray and black one there in the middle of the screen. So unplug that, wrap that under, and then we should be ready to start unbolting this dash. All right, so I got the two 13mm bolts loosened that hold the bottom of the dash, and you don't really have to take them out. It's like a hinge. There's space on there for adjustment, and there's a slot for the whole dash to pull up. So I got them loosened. You can see the dash is kind of rocked out now. A few more connectors we need to deal with down in here. That red looking one, that reddish, that one down in there, that one goes into the plug that it's right on top of, and you can kind of see that another loom behind it that's got a black tab on the end of that. The end of it's black. That goes into that plug on the left. And then down in here, you can actually see and get at some of these from the bottom too. Like there's even a little access hole here. So that's how I got the that red one undone. That one goes to the blower motor, it looks like. Down here, there's a couple more plugs that I need to get, and I think I need to do something with this. I believe this is a vacuum line. But it's got to unplug somewhere. So, anyways, moving. All well, I sort of got the dash rocked back now. I'm missing a couple more connections I'm still trying to figure out. Here on the driver's side, there's a small ground connector right there that runs down, and it's looks like either a white line with the black tracer or something like that. But that plugs in right there. I'm gonna need to make sure I don't forget to plug that back in. That's that gummy connector, the vacuum connector there that was on the back of the HVAC panel. And if we go all the way over to the other side, there are a few more connectors near the passenger footwell, right down in here. So those two connectors right there, the one with the that reddish hue on it. Focus, please. There we go. One with the reddish hue on it, and the one with the black just to the left of it. Those go in there. So the red one goes on the right there, and the black one goes on the left. There's a blue and white connector there. Those go into the blue and white connectors here that go into the bottom of the dash. That cable on the floor is the antenna cable that was routed down the back of the dashboard through here. And I kind of just had to follow that to figure out where they went. And then there's that bundle of wires on the floor on top of the airbag module. I've got to figure out how to disconnect those. That's my next task. But after that, we should be out. All right, we got the dashboard out. That I kind of sucked to do by myself. What I did was I put 2 milk crates down, one over there, which the steering wheel doesn't really rest on it, and one right here. I laid them both long ways. So when I got the dash out on one side, I could bring it back just a little bit and set it on that milk crate. And then when I got the driver's side loose, I forgot to get the little connector that shows on your gauge cluster what gear you're in. So I had to go back up under there and figure that out while the dash was hanging loose. But got it up over the steering wheel, set it down on this side, had it on this milk crate, got in the middle, got up under it, picked it up, and then kicked this milk crate out of the way. Was able to get out of the truck with it. So, yeah, that really sucks to do by yourself. But here it is in all of its shattered glory. You know, I got a couple ideas on things that I need to do. I can pull that gauge cluster out and polish that plastic up, clean some of the dust out of the inside. That'll really make it look a little bit better. I did that on my Miata. It was a night and day difference. Really worth doing. You get to take some McGuire's Plastex and buff it in by hand. You can do it on the couch while you're watching TV after dinner. Yeah, this one's not going back in. So the next step for me, I guess, is to go through and disassemble all the plastic off of this dash. I'm going to leave this mostly together until I get the new aluminum dash in. The lead time on those was about 3 to 6 weeks, based on whether or not you wanted it powder coated. So while I've got all this out, I can get in there and get the heater box stuff fixed. I can maybe see about getting some foam, you know, to seal all these edges back up. I heard something about the blend door in these having the occasional issue. My blower motor was kind of on the fritz already before the HVAC control panel went out. So I'll probably replace most of the easily replaceable parts in that HVAC box. Give me a chance to really clean out all this up here against the firewall. Like I said earlier, pull the carpet out, maybe replace that. But yeah, now we got a blank canvas. A lot of cleaning, because this thing is nasty. But that's it. The dash is out, and I'm happy. I'll move on to the next thing for me, which will be today, but it's probably going to be in a different video. This has been more than longer than I expected it to be already. So appreciate it. See ya.